Hey everybody, it's Jay again with a brand new video on how to fix a broken vape pen cartridge. This is an extension of my previous video, which I'll put the link right there for you, that I made last year on how to do this exact same thing. But in that amount of time, I have learned a couple of new things, which is going to be number 4 and number 5. And in this video, I'm going to go through everything that I explained in the last video, but I'm going to do it a little faster. So hopefully that'll make some of you happy that don't like sitting through very long videos. But it is important that I cover all these details so that we know what is going on. So without further ado, if you like these videos, please consider subscribing. I'm a stay-at-home dad. And if any of these videos helped you out, please consider donating to my Venmo at JAndres or to my Cash App J1220. So without further ado, let's start off with number 1. Is the airflow disrupted? Let's check all 4 areas. So number 1 is the mouthpiece, right? So our cartridge, our mouthpiece on these particular cartridges, these are the Kingpen brand, the mouthpiece actually comes unscrewed. So if we do unscrew the mouthpiece, we can see real easily it's not clogged. So there's no reason to go any further with that one. If you had a severe oil leakage, your oil might be clogged up inside of there. And then in that case, just use a pipe cleaner to get that out of there, or a little rolled up piece of paper towel or something. One thing I noticed is I just knocked off this little rubber washer. So I'm just going to put that back into place. There we go. Nice and sticky. There's also a rubber washer right in there to go up flush against that glass to keep that oil from leaking out. So let's put that back together. So area number 1 is the mouthpiece. We just checked that. It's good. Area number 2 is the bottom air hole. So the bottom air hole is right there. Is it clogged? Obviously. If it's not obviously clogged, then we're just going to skip that. What we don't want to do, before I go any further, I know we have some different tools up here. I got my little paper clip, and I got pipe cleaner and all that. What we don't want to do is, please do not stick anything through the entirety of your cartridge, because we have these little wicks that are inside of these 2 little holes right there and right there, which are the same as these 2 little holes right there and there. This cartridge, the glass does not screw off. I had to break it off for the demo purposes of this display here, okay? So is your mouthpiece clogged? Is the bottom air hole clogged? Number 3 of this section is the side holes near the bottom of the threading. This is the bottom threading. There are air holes right there. So when we screw on our cartridge to our battery, those air holes receive air from the 4th section, the airflow slots at the top of the pen, which are right there. They look like little castle teeth. Air will flow in through here, and then it will enter the side holes near the top of the threading. And then also too, it will enter through the bottom. This is the contact pin that makes contact with this little plate of your battery. That sends electricity to this, and then this transfers electricity to your wick coils. There are 2, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. This coil is missing the wick because I took it out. The wick absorbs the oil from your middle cylinder. So all of your oil will be in here. And then the oil will go into those holes right there into the wick. The wick receives electricity and heat from the coils, and it turns your liquid into vapor, which you then inhale. So hopefully that is a quick understanding of how that works. Where are those coils, you might ask? Those coils are inside of the rubber gasket. So the anatomy here is this center contact pin slides into this rubber gasket, and then inside of the rubber gasket there should be two little fine wires which wrap around a wick. On the outside of this rubber gasket there will be another set of two. So there's two outside the rubber washer, there's two wires inside the rubber washer. What I believe is happening to a lot of people is that when you purchase the cartridges, unfortunately, I think when the robots are putting these together at the factory, the robots are putting the center contact pin back in for the final step of assembly. And when they put this pin back in, what I very firmly believe is this pin, when they push it in there, it is displacing the coil wires. So that's point number 2. Is the center wick coil displaced and then not touching the contact pin? That is the contact pin. This is the coil wire. The coil wire wraps around a wick. There should be 2 wicks, which you won't see. You should never see, because if you see those, then they're out of place. Those wicks, again, go through these holes. They're right in the middle of these holes. And this goes straight through. You see that? And there are 2 holes. 1, 2. There should be 2 wicks inside of there, nothing else. If those wicks get displaced, then you have problem number 3. So going back to problem number 2, is the center wick coil displaced and not touching the contact pin? What you would have to do is you would have to take your contact pin out, like I did with my fingernails, and then you would check. Now, I don't know if you could see, but right there are 2 little wires. Let me see if I can bring this closer in focus. There are 2 little wires in there. If you don't see your 2 wires and you only see 1, that means that one of them got pushed up out of place and now you only have 1. Or maybe you like this better. It got pushed up out of place and there's only 1 wire. Because of the robots. The evil robots. Now, if they got displaced, you can use a special tool, which is use a special tool to recenter one or both of the coil wires. What we don't want to do is, when we're fishing in there for that wire, we don't want to pull it completely out because it is not infinite length. It is only this long and that long. If you pull that out, you're going to pull the wick with it, and then all of your fluid is going to go where? Into the middle air cylinder, and then you're going to get a hard gurgling, and you're going to start losing a bunch of your fluid, and there's no recovering that, right? So this is a tool from a sewing kit. If you say we're threading a needle, and you put this through the needle, you could put your string in through that hole, and then you would pull this through, and it pulls the thread through the needle. That's what this is from a sewing kit. Also, too, from my soldering kit, I got these very, very fine tweezers, which are definitely going to be able to get that coil if you can get your tweezers onto them, right? If your coils are out of place, then you're probably going to get a blinking error code when you go to hit this thing. When you go to light it, instead of it just lighting nice and smooth, it might blink 3 or 4 times a weird color, different colors. And that is an error code letting you know that there's something wrong from the inner workings of your cartridge. The electricity is not flowing properly. Do not pull the wires completely out or your oil will leak. You might be missing a wire due to a manufacturer defect. And if that's the case, maybe go back to your local store and then say, hey, I think that there's a problem here. I'm missing my center coil. My cartridge isn't working. So hopefully if you live in a legal state, you can go back to your store and you can get that replaced. Otherwise, you might be out of luck. And if you are out of luck in that instance, then you might have to transfer your oil to a working cartridge, like an empty one, an empty working or a non-leaking cartridge. So I always suggest keep these around when you're done with them, when they're empty, because if you had one that was working, then you have, say, a brand new one that isn't working, you could transfer the oil from this one to this one by simply unscrewing the cap. And then you can actually stack these on top of each other if you have a steady hand. In my previous video, I did that, so you could check that out. You could put this part on top of the similar part, and they will stack. And all the oil will transfer down the middle and go into the cylinder of your working cartridge. So let's put that back on there before any more oil leaks out. So that was number 2, is the center wick coil displaced. Number 3, are your wicks out of place and now your oil's leaking? So you might say, well, what's the wick? Again, that is the wick right there. There should be 2 of them. A wick that is wrapped with a coil, and there would be another wick inside of this coil. And those are inside of there. Those wires travel down the bottom of this cartridge and make contact with the center cylinder and with the bottom contact pin, which will make contact with your battery contact plate. All right. So if your center wick is out of place, you're going to know, because you're not going to be able to draw clean, fresh, smooth vapor out of your cartridge. It's going to seem to be stuck. The telltale sign, the very real sign, is you're going to hear a gurgling, a slurping gurgling. That means that inside of the middle cylinder, instead of this air and vapor going through, you have oil leaking into these holes because your wicks are not in the hole. They've been displaced. So if they've been displaced, oil's going to go in the hole and you're going to get a gurgling. So if that happens, that's number 3. Are your wicks out of place? Transfer your oil, your liquid, to a working cartridge. You can go to your local smoke shop and get a little ceramic tip. You can get one of these, not brand specific, but you can get a generic one. You can transfer your oil there. It might take you some time, but it might be your only option if you live in a non-legal state. Number 4, these are the new additions. Did you try unscrewing your pen to increase the airflow? Well, what happens is, over time, the 4 airflow areas become clogged, and it will disrupt your airflow. So all we're going to do is, instead of screwing it on all the way nice and tight, I found that sometimes all you got to do is just unscrew it a little bit, and that will help increase the airflow into the side holes near the bottom threading. Or it may increase the possibility that airflow is going to go through the bottom air hole right there. Well, minus the pen, or minus the contact pen. So try unscrewing and to increase your airflow. Number 5, is your cartridge just getting old and clogged? This is vapor. It's sticky liquid. And as you continue to use your product to the point of completion, residue is just going to build up in there. We all know that from smoking our tobacco pipes. Screens need to be replaced. Different cleaning solutions need to be used. whatever we need to do to make sure that we can get airflow, and these aren't any different. So is your cartridge getting old and clogged? So what I do is I actually inhale some fire lightly through the tip and blow out the melted wax. So what do I mean by that is with my tip here, I will just inhale, put my mouth on the mouthpiece there, and I will very lightly, just a little mouth drag, like you're hitting a cigar, like give it a little kiss, and kiss the sticky oil in there with some fire, and then blow it out, blow that sticky oil out, right? Let me see if I can demonstrate this. So not so much came out, but maybe I could do it with, oh, I already took these off. Anyway, it works. Just try it out. If you're not hearing, if you have this off and you try to take a mouth drag off it and you don't hear clean air going through, it's clogged in there. And that is very easily going to be your problem if it's just getting old and clogged. It might be new and clogged. We don't know. But just inhale a little bit of fire through that tip and then blow that sticky wax out. It will be hard sticky wax, which will turn into melted sticky wax, and then you can blow it out. Let's see. Also, too, we can use the lighter to gently melt the thread wax on the cartridge. So this is the threading here. That might get some sticky residue, so we could just melt that and then just wipe it off, and you'll get something. Same thing too with the inside of your pen. Just give it a little quick melt, and then get inside of there and clean it out. There's gonna be something. And that something, the threading, if that threading gets all gunked up here and here, then you're not going to get any airflow through the bottom hole, which I should probably put that back. So again, since I'm doing this, let's talk real quick about is the center wick coil displaced. When the robots are putting these back together, when they push these in there, I believe that this contact pin is pushing the wires out of place and or just snapping them, like snapping them apart. Sorry about the focusing on this camera. Let me see if I can fix it. Ta-da! All right. So when this is getting pushed in at the factory, I think it's snapping these off or just moving them out of place. So hopefully this video helps you out. I've been noticing when I've been using mine as they get older, simply unscrewing them a little bit helps out a lot. So just unscrew it a little bit, and that should increase your airflow. And then also to use the lighter trick to get them from being clogged. All right, so that's that. Hopefully this video helped you if the previous one didn't. Again, sorry about the focusing issues. I was unaware of whatever focusing issues were happening. Again, if you like this video, just subscribe. It'll help me to get paid so you don't have to donate to me. But if you do want to donate, that'd be super dope because, you know, I'm a stay-at-home dad. So thanks again. My name's Jay. Have an awesome rest of your day.